Picture this. The year is 27 BC, and Augustus Caesar has just become the first Roman emperor. For over 500 years, the Roman Empire would rule much of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. At its peak, Rome controlled over 5 million square kilometers of territory, from Britain in the north to Egypt in the south, from Spain in the west to Syria in the east. Its roads connected distant lands stretching over 250,000 miles across the empire. Its armies were the most disciplined and feared fighting force in the ancient world. Roman laws brought order to chaos, and Roman culture spread across 3 continents. But by the year 476 AD, this mighty empire in the west had completely collapsed. The last Western Roman emperor, a boy named Romulus Augustulus, was overthrown. A barbarian chieftain named Odoacer now ruled from the throne of the Caesars. How did this happen? Why did one of the greatest civilizations in history fall? Let's uncover the shocking truth behind Rome's collapse. The story begins with Rome's greatest strength becoming its greatest weakness. First, the empire was simply too large to control effectively. Think about it, ruling territory the size of the entire United States, but without modern technology. Controlling such a vast territory required enormous armies stationed across thousands of miles. It demanded massive taxation to fund these armies and the imperial administration. Messages took weeks to travel from Rome to distant provinces like Britain or Dacia. Communication was slow, relying on horseback riders and sailing ships. Defending borders that stretched for thousands of miles became nearly impossible. Roman resources were stretched dangerously thin across this massive territory. When crisis struck in one region, help was often too far away. Second, Rome faced constant pressure from barbarian invasions. These weren't just occasional raids, they were massive population movements. Germanic tribes like the Visigoths, Vandals, Ostrogoths, and Franks pressed against the borders. Climate change in northern Europe was forcing these tribes to migrate south. They weren't just looking to raid, they wanted new lands to settle permanently. The Huns, led by the fearsome Attila, pushed other tribes toward Roman territory. In 378 AD, the Romans suffered a devastating defeat at the Battle of Adrianople. Emperor Valens himself was killed, and 2/3 of the Eastern Roman army was destroyed. In 406 AD, a massive coalition of tribes crossed the frozen Rhine River. They poured into Gaul, overwhelming Roman defenses completely. In 410 AD, Alaric and his Visigothic army achieved the unthinkable. They captured and sacked Rome itself. The Eternal City had fallen. For 3 days, the Visigoths looted the capital of the world. In 455 AD, the Vandals sacked Rome again, this time even more thoroughly. By 476 AD, Germanic tribes controlled most of the former Western Empire. The Western Emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was forced to step down by Odoacer. This marked the official end of the Western Roman Empire forever. Third, political instability was tearing Rome apart from within. The 3rd century is known as the crisis of the 3rd century for good reason. In just 50 years, Rome had over 20 different emperors. Most of them died violent deaths, assassination, murder, or execution. Emperors rose and fell quickly, often lasting just months or even weeks. The Praetorian Guard meant to protect emperors often killed them instead. Military generals fought civil wars to claim the purple of imperial power. Corruption infected every level of government, from senators to tax collectors. The Roman Senate lost most of its power and influence. Bribes and kickbacks became the normal way of doing business. Civil wars erupted constantly, dividing the empire's attention and resources. While Romans fought each other, barbarians invaded unopposed borders. The military became more loyal to individual generals than to Rome itself. Fourth, the Roman economy was crumbling under impossible pressures. Heavy taxation crushed ordinary citizens and destroyed the middle class. To fund the massive military, taxes increased dramatically every year. Farmers abandoned their land because they couldn't afford the tax burden. Trade networks collapsed as provinces became unsafe and unstable. Pirates controlled the Mediterranean, making sea trade extremely dangerous. The Roman currency was debased. Coins contained less and less actual silver. Inflation skyrocketed as the government printed more and more worthless money. Slavery reduced innovation and technological progress throughout the empire. Why invent new farming techniques when you have unlimited slave labor? Cities began shrinking as people fled to the countryside for safety. Once prosperous provinces like Gaul and Spain fell into poverty and decline. The famous Roman roads fell into disrepair without proper maintenance. Finally, the empire made a fateful decision that sealed its doom. In 285 AD, Emperor Diocletian split the empire into western and eastern halves. This division was meant to make the empire easier to govern and defend. The Eastern Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire, remained strong for centuries. Its capital, Constantinople, controlled the wealthy trade routes to Asia. But the Western Empire was poorer, weaker, and more exposed to barbarian attacks. Italy and Rome itself were no longer the center of imperial power. This division meant the empire could no longer coordinate its defenses effectively. When the West faced crisis, the East often refused to help. Resources that once flowed to defend the entire empire were now divided. The two halves sometimes even fought against each other. Let's be clear, there was no single cause for Rome's catastrophic fall. It wasn't just barbarian invasions that brought down the empire. It wasn't just political instability or economic collapse alone. Instead, it was the result of decades of decline and multiple interconnected crises. Political chaos, economic troubles, military defeats, and relentless invasions all played crucial parts. Climate change forced barbarian migrations that Rome couldn't handle. Religious changes weakened traditional Roman values and unity. The rise of Christianity changed Roman culture and military traditions. Disease and plague periodically devastated the population and economy. Yet Rome's incredible legacy never truly disappeared from the world. Roman law still forms the basis of legal systems across Europe today. Latin evolved into Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese, and Romanian. Roman architecture still inspires buildings in Washington, D.C. and beyond. The Roman calendar, with its 365-day year, is still used worldwide. Roman engineering techniques were not equaled for over 1,000 years. The Roman Catholic Church preserved much of Roman administrative structure. Even today, the story of Rome's fall serves as a warning to modern superpowers. It shows us how even the mightiest empires can fade when they overextend themselves. No empire, no matter how powerful or advanced, lasts forever. The same problems that destroyed Rome, overextension, internal division, economic strain, still threaten nations today. Thanks for watching this deep dive into one of history's greatest collapses. If you enjoyed uncovering the truth about Rome's fall, don't forget to like this video. Share it with anyone fascinated by ancient history and the rise and fall of civilizations. And make sure to subscribe to @History in 5 My for more incredible stories from the past. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest historical adventures. What empire or civilization should we explore next? Let us know in the comments below.